So if people are going through this and they're looking at what's happening externally and not going within to find out why, and they're blaming anything external, the economy, the collective, the evil that's out there, or the darkness, whatever it is, if you're blaming that, you're missing the point.
Right.
The point is you're on a journey. And it is for you. It is your universe. This is your simulated experience that you're having to dive into and learn from. So now what are you going to do?
Our guest today, Jennifer Palmer, is a healing facilitator and owner of Nourishing Journey. She shares the story of the hero's journey, offering guidance to help us in navigating our own life's challenges with greater purpose and resilience. KarmaHub, sharing the spirit of the healing arts. So how's your day been?
Oh, good.
Busy?
Yeah. It's just been nonstop. It's been good though.
I'm glad to hear that.
Yeah. How about you? Things good?
Things are good. Yeah. I mean, this whole the hero's journey discussion.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's perfect timing. I'd love to hear all about it.
Oh, great.
But no, things have been very good. I really can't complain. It's just, always a learning experience. I'd love to just kind of have a free ride on the roller coaster, but no, there's always winds and bends and loops and dips, and I never seem to get used to them.
Yeah, I know. Well, I think the thing is to stop resisting them.
Okay.
It's not about getting used to them.
Yeah.
You just need to ride it.
Just ride it. Just be open to it.
Life would be so boring if we didn't have those.
Well, that's true. So Jennifer, so nice to have you on KarmaHub. It's been a long time coming.
I'm so glad to be here, Lauren. Thank you so much.
So I'd love to, I know a little bit about your background, but I'd love to hear a little bit more in depth about how you got started. So you're the owner of Nourishing Journey. You're also one of the many facilitators there. You have, and practice so many different wellness modalities. And so I'd love to hear a little bit about some of the methods that you personally work with, maybe the most, because you do so many.
Right.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah. Well, do you want me to just start at the beginning, how I got into that?
Yeah. That sounds fantastic. I'd love to hear it because if memory serves, you used to be more into computers and you were a manager at a programming office. So go ahead. Let me hear all about it.
My bachelor's degree is information systems management, and I was doing software engineering. I was a computer programmer and did a lot of government type work and contract work, but I was really sick, and I also was not thrilled with work. You go there, you make good money, and then you come home, and you just feel like you're not making a difference in the world. And I had a very deep call to do something to make a difference in this world, and programming was not it. When I was 18 years old, I had 12 amalgam fillings put in my mouth. And over the course of the next few years, I started getting sicker and sicker, but I didn't realize what was going on. And then I had 2 children, and both of them also got real sick from everything going on. My oldest one being diagnosed as being on the autism spectrum. And my youngest one had other issues, nowhere near as significant. But, as a mom, your biggest motivations are whatever has to do with your kids. So while I was getting sicker and sicker and I was looking for some answers, I wasn't motivated to necessarily do anything it took to get those answers. So it was through trying to help my kids, especially my oldest one, trying to figure out how do we get better, because this is not normal. I don't care what anybody says out there right now. Our kids are sicker than they have ever been. Our adults are sicker than they have ever been.
I agree.
It's not how it's supposed to be. So I was on a mission trying to figure it out. I would stay up late, I'd get up early. I was always watching webinars, whatever I could do to find some answers. And I started falling in love with the idea of healing. And so I started studying traditional naturopathy, mostly because it was just a way for me to get the information. And I felt like it was solid, foundational, traditional information, things that we've used for thousands of years to heal. So I got a degree in that and started learning how to do clearings and energy work. And my whole world took a very different path when I started diving into energy healing.
Now, when would you say that was? How many years ago?
My oldest son was 9. He's 26 now. So
Okay.
it was around the time he was 9 years old, all of that started unfolding. And I had spent about 4 years really diving into physical healing and detox and trying to understand what does it take to heal the physical body. But I had a medical doctor tell me, because I couldn't heal, I was not getting any better. And he told me, he was like, Jen, you've got emotional traumas. You have all these things that have happened to you, and you haven't healed them yet. So those are your blocks to healing. I had no idea. I thought everything was just physical. I was a deep person, but I didn't understand really how emotional trauma could affect physical healing.
Right.
So that was part of the start of my journey. I went to a very enlightened counselor who practiced all kinds of different things and ended up having a past life regression. And it was fascinating. It really led me down into some rabbit holes, and where I started learning about karma and soul lessons and the purpose for being here. And all at the same time, my oldest son also suddenly, very spontaneously, started energy healing people, dogs. He became an energy healer. He was
Wow.
born that way. He didn't
Wow.
get any training with it. He was born that way. And so while he
So
was,
you followed his lead.
I did. And
Wow.
he
I did
literally,
not know that.
yes, he literally saved a dog from being put to sleep. And it was, yes. So that was the beginning of our energy healing experience. Um, but before that, we also had weird, crazy experiences of spiritual activity in the house, seeing big orbs, little orbs, hearing voices. A lot of it felt really good, some of it not so good. So it led me down the path of learning how to do clearings. And so, that's another whole topic. But I know our topic today is really about the hero's journey.
Right.
And anytime you step into your soul's calling, you are entering into an initiation. And, when you step out as a
That's
healer or someone in this field doing something to help others, being of service and doing what you're here to do, there's always a soul's purpose there. You're not just there to just help somebody. You're there for your higher calling as a soul. And it's an initiation and it's not meant to be easy.
it's not easy.
No,
Yeah.
it's really not.
Yeah.
And there are many different ways you can look at this. And we live in an environment of duality, while at the same time we're being asked to come from oneness. And that's not always easy, right? And you can
Mhm.
see that in the physicality of the world today, especially today. Things are so divided and easily judged from that space, right? But
It's a
we're
good way of
meant,
putting it. Easily
yeah,
judged. Yeah.
but we're meant to come at it from a more loving, wholesome space and to look beyond the duality and to really aim for. It's like when you're driving down the road. When you're driving, you're taught to look straight ahead at where you're trying to go
Mhm.
and not down at the lines in the road, right? If you
Okay.
hyper focus on the lines in the road, you're going to start realizing you're going off path. You're not quite doing it right. You're going to cross the middle line or whatever, or get
Right.
off onto the shoulder somehow. It always happens. But the best way to drive safely and in a straight line is to look way ahead. It's the same thing with spirituality. If you're spending too much time focusing on what's going on around you, you don't really get beyond it. You kind of go off path. And so I think that's part of the test for a lot of spiritual people is to look beyond and to remember what we're here for. And coming back to the hero's journey, that's that process, right? And I don't know, do you want to just dive right into that or?
I I am actually curious. So, um, you're kind of following your son in terms of like some of the healing energy and kind of following in his footsteps, which is amazing. But then you took it to the next level and actually opened up a wellness center.
Right.
And I feel like it's one of the largest in Maryland. I mean, it's a pretty huge place you have. Many different practitioners, and it's just a wonderful. I mean, I plug it all the time. I
Oh,
send my
thank you.
people your way.
Thank
you
you.
know, and for so many years you've been my mentor. You're my go-to person.
Oh,
So
I
once
so
again,
appreciate that.
yeah, no, once again, it's very special having you here. But I'd love to hear what made you decide to open up this wellness center, and maybe some of the. I'm assuming during your hero's journey, you would probably your wellness center or is kind of weaving in and out of your hero's journey because that I
Oh
know is
gosh.
very very close
Yes.
to your heart.
Well, when you step onto the hero's journey, we can dive into more in that in a minute, but when we step into it, we don't really know what we're stepping into. We always have an idea in our mind of what we think we're being called to do because we think we're just being called to be of service.
Mhm.
So I was like, okay, I'm going to go open up a place. Well, initially, I was just going to rent a room someplace. I had no grand designs of opening up a wellness center, but it just naturally unfolded that way. And as I feel called to do things, I step into that. And so I always answer the call, and that always creates more challenge.
Well, I think so. You connect pretty easily. You
Yeah.
you you get your messages, and um, I think there's more people that the messages aren't quite as clear. They have this feeling that they need to do something, but they are always kind of weaving in and out, trying to figure out what version of that they're supposed to do because they don't have quite as much accessible guidance.
Even with the accessible guidance, though, you're only told so much. You
Right.
really do still have to trust your own inner being, and you still have to face yourself. It's you against you always, right? So that journey, whatever journey you're on, you need to go deeper.
Gotcha.
And it's never about the physical. So the universe uses the physical, whatever, health, finances, relationships, whatever it is, career, it uses what you're motivated by to get you to grow and to heal. And so we always have to grow. That's what we're here for. We are ever expanding. It's not supposed to be stagnant. And in order to grow, you need to heal. You need to heal what happened in your past, whether it's this lifetime, past lifetime, ancestral energies, however you want to look at it, whatever it is you as a soul are dealing with. So there's this ever evolving process of healing and growing, healing and growing, healing and growing while we're in this space on planet Earth, whatever this is. And so for me, with Nourishing Journey, my wellness center, it started off as me just wanting to be a practitioner. I wanted to help people heal because I found some things that helped me. And I knew a lot of people could use it.
Right. You're like, I got to tell the world.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, and, it's
Yeah.
funny because when my kids were really young, just before, I think my oldest son was around 8, I was in a hyperbaric oxygen unit with both of my boys, and we
Wow.
literally had an oxygen mask. We were sharing it back and forth, and I don't know if you've ever seen that. It was a really small one too. So me and my two young kids, huddled into this little
Wow.
oxygen chamber, and they were watching a video, and I was sitting there with my headphones on, listening to music, and just bawling, and just it was one of those conversations with God where I was like, show me what to do. Nothing I'm doing is working. Show me what to do, and I promise I will help others. So to me, when I started getting answers, because it was right after that answers started coming and I started actually feeling better. So as I started healing and started finding answers, it went from the physical, that everything happens in the physical because that's our motivation, right?
Right.
Underneath that is mental, emotional. Underneath of that is your spiritual purpose behind it. Everything truly is spiritual. And if you get caught up in the physical, a lot of times people are spinning in circles because they can't seem to find their way out of it because they're not looking deeper. And if you can go deeper, you'll find the answers. So to me, it was a mix of different things. You have to support the physical while you're looking at the mental, emotional, and healing all of that. And then going even deeper to the spiritual to see what's the purpose? How is this serving me? And what can I do to move forward? And ultimately, how can I use this to help others? So that really is how I started Nourishing Journey. Doing colon hydrotherapy, I was helping out with some dietary guidance, detox, and oh, by the way, here's some energy healing, to help you with the mental, emotional stuff. And as I got deeper and deeper working with clients, realizing that some people would heal, some people wouldn't. And we
Right.
all have our roadblocks, right? And trying to figure out, well, why is that? And what do you really need to do to heal? What does your mindset need to be like?
Right.
Um, what kind of core emotional wounds do we have? Um, why is that person doing well with that kind of a diet where this person over here is not? And, what's the difference? So it all comes down to how is it serving us? So that's why I love talking about the hero's journey. And of course, owning a business, especially over the last 5 years, it is no easy feat. And above and beyond that, owning a spiritually based business, one that is meant to help you really dive in and grow while you're helping others really dive in and grow, it's very challenging. And you're going through your own stuff. You're not perfect, right? And everyone around you expects you to be because you're a leader and you're helping others heal, but nobody's perfect. Nobody is everything all healed all at once. It's a progression. So, one of the important lessons that I think I've had to learn is that I'm always striving forward. I'm looking ahead to those that have come before me to see where is next for me while reaching back and helping others who are maybe behind me in the process to help pull along, help along, give some guidance, shine some light to show that there is a way forward. But every person's journey is their own. And I can't necessarily seek guidance from those that have not gotten to where I am yet.
Hmm.
So the wisdom, because really honestly, what I found is we tend to judge imperfections in those who are ahead of us, me included. If I have somebody that I put on a pedestal, which we all do, I think that's kind of human nature at times. We come across a teacher that we think is amazing and they're really helping us. And then suddenly we see something in them that isn't perfect. Maybe it's an egotistical, self-important comment they make or something, right? There's something. And immediately in our psyche, we need to separate from that because we know we don't want to be that, although that's still us, where it's a mirror. But at the same time, we judge it, so then we move on to somebody else, or we keep trying to look for the answers outside of us when ultimately all of the answers are within us. The people that are ahead of us in the process, they're meant to shine the light on how we could move forward because there are so many different paths. But looking behind, there's people that are behind us, and it's not better or worse, but it's just there are a lot of people that I have to help that have never run a business or that have never been a leader or who have never maybe gone as deep as I've gone in doing the healing work or something, right? Whatever it is. And when you're helping somebody come up and up level in their own lives, that's not the person that you turn to when you're trying to up level in your life. So I say that's part of the hero's journey because, and the reason I mention this is because when you're on the hero's journey, you often will feel very alone and it feels like nobody understands you. And that's actually part of the process. So I say that because I think most people, especially if you're diving in and trying to do the work and trying to evolve and get better in some way, you're going to come across that. You're going to feel very alone. You're going to feel isolated. You're going to feel like nobody understands or nobody can get what you're going through.
Mhm.
And you might even feel blamed for it in some way. So when that happens, that's when you start to really find who you are. And that's probably the most important piece of that whole journey is letting go of all that is outside of you so that you can come to who you are to put on the next pair of shoes that you need to start wearing because you're being up leveled.
So I want to backtrack just a little bit. I want to get a clearer sense of
Mm.
um, who this hero's journey applies to. I mean, I feel like a vast majority of people fall into this category on some level, but I'd
Yeah.
kind of like to get your insights on, um, where this journey kind of applies, to whom it applies.
Yeah. When I think of hero's journey, we're all in some version of that,
Okay.
but there are extreme versions of that, especially for people who, it seems, when they dive into their soul's calling, when they're really stepping into something to be of service and to really help humanity in some way, where they're stepping outside of themselves. It's not just about a career. It's not just about a relationship. There's so much more that you're being asked to do.
So it's not the typical life roller coaster ride. There's a lot more in depth here with this hero's journey.
Because it's an initiation. And I link the hero's journey with the idea of ascension. And, a lot of people come into lives and maybe their life is not necessarily meant to be about a big jump in their ascension process. I think right now, in this day and age, with the current cycle of ascension that we're looking at, I do feel that a lot of us, though, we are working through a lot of our karma. We're working through a lot of things that we've been through, trying to heal as much as possible in this lifetime. And so I think at this time, there are a lot of people on this journey. Um, is that mine or yours?
I'm not hearing what you're hearing.
Oh, okay, good. I guess my computer keeps beeping at me. Sorry.
Okay.
I'm not even getting a message, so I don't know what it is. Um, all right, so let's talk about what happens in the hero's journey. Let's
Yes.
come at it from a viewpoint of you've had a calling. Maybe you've already stepped into the calling, or maybe you're feeling like you're about to. Maybe you're being called
Well,
to
yeah.
be.
So I'm looking at the chart here, and I'll post it up for everybody to see. But I've definitely ridden some of this ride here.
Yeah.
It's not an easy ride. But yeah, I can. I'm like, okay, I've hit that, and yeah, I'm skirting that, and I'm hopeful that I'm here and not back there, but I could be back there.
Right. I know. Well, sometimes the journey is quicker than others. And the more resistance we have on this journey and the more we fight opening up to go deeper, to face ourselves, the longer it's going to take. But also, I think the bigger the mission is, or the bigger the step in your ascension process is, the more difficult this can be. But it's for good reason. So I want to just step through the general idea of the journey. And it's very generalized. Not everybody goes through every single aspect of this, but it's the basic recipe of the hero's journey. So, you start off and you're kind of called to something. So for me, opening up my business and getting into healing of some kind. And you might even say it was when I decided to start healing myself. That could have been the beginning, or it could have been the point in time where I had that conversation with God and I said, show me what to do and I'll help others. I tend to think that that's more when I started this particular aspect of my journey. Um, but you might also have one big journey and then other like mini cycles within it, if that makes sense.
Yes.
Okay.
Mhm.
So you had that call to adventure and it seems known. You have an idea, you have a plan. You're like, okay, I'm going to go do X, Y, Z. I'm going to learn how to become a healer. I'm going to learn how to teach nutrition or do something to be of service to some greater level than yourself. Sometimes there's resistance to that. You might feel like I'm not good enough. I don't know what I'm doing, or why would I ever want to step into that? But yet you feel so called to do it, you do it anyway. Then you cross into basically what they call the unknown. It's that thing you didn't plan for. It's all the things that go wrong. When we start off doing something, if we knew how bad things could get before we get to the other side or get to victory, how many times have we have actually said, no, I'm not going to do that? So we're not meant to know the challenge. That's why I'm like, it doesn't matter if you're intuitive or not. They're not going to tell you about all the challenges you're going to have before you have them. Or
Probably
else,
for the same reasons they don't give you the lucky numbers for the lottery,
yes.
right? You could be magically intuitive and they're still not going to give you the golden ticket.
Yeah, yeah,
Okay,
that is
fair
so
enough.
true.
Fair enough. Yeah.
But as you're crossing into that unknown and you're starting to face some challenges, you start to feel like you might even be a failure. It's not working. You're not good enough. You can't make this happen. You start losing friends, you start losing people, you start losing aspects of yourself. You get lost. And that feeling lost is an important part of the entire process because ultimately you're meant to find yourself on a different level. But you get really exhausted. You start feeling like you want to give up. And many people do give up there. They just feel like, oh, okay, well, this process, maybe I'm not meant to be a healer. This isn't working yet. And I gave it everything and I thought I was doing the right thing. I gave it my all and now nothing. I'm not succeeding. If you give up, you will never get through the cycle. You just leave.
Hmm.
So the point is to get those helpers, those mentors, those people that can help you move forward, the people that can help you heal, and to understand that this is an inside job. It's not that you're doing the wrong thing, and it's not that you've made a bad choice. It's that it's not meant to be easy. And you need to become somebody new, somebody different, so that you can fill those really big shoes that you decided you were going to start walking in. Right now, they're clown shoes.
Okay. Yeah.
They're not fitting
Right.
because you are not who you need to be yet. So you're going to stumble. And this is where we call the dark night of the soul, where it can feel like everything is falling apart, everything is not working, you're miserable. This is not what I planned at all, right? And that's where you need to dive even deeper. Because what you're doing in that dark night of the soul is you're saying goodbye to who you were. And then you need to start finding who you're meant to be now. Once you stick with it, and that dark night of the soul can last a long time. It just depends on how much resistance you have and what your breaking point is. Because you really do need to hit that breaking point.
Hmm.
You hit the breaking point and you give up, you surrender. You're like, okay, show me what's next. I can't control this. I can't fight it. I know what I'm here to do in some way. Show me what's next. Show me what's next. And basically you go from losing all faith and wanting to give up to starting to have a glimmer of faith and hope again. And then that starts working more into believing again. And then into knowing. And that's where the transformation takes place. That's where you really start becoming the person who can fill those shoes.
Well, I feel like I'm somewhere in there. I mean, I put this project, KarmaHub, up on a shelf for almost a year, and it was really tough for me. But I couldn't leave it alone. It's all I thought about it, even when I wasn't doing anything with it.
Yep.
And I just have this unknowing draw to do this for whatever reason. I have not figured it out. It does not make much sense to me. I mean, it does in the sense that I want to help people and I want to spread the word. But from a practical sense, it doesn't it doesn't make much logical sense. Um, and I'm not really sure what I'm doing. I just know that I'm supposed to do this or some version of this. Um, and I can't not do it. So Yeah, I'm kind of smack in the middle of just trying to, I guess, rewrite myself, rewrite my beliefs, and take that next big step into something a bit more magical.
Yeah, I mean, ultimately, we have this vision of what we want, right? This thing that we're trying to manifest. So, KarmaHub is the thing you're trying to manifest. And you have this idea in your mind of what you would like it to be. But there's something about within you that doesn't match that yet.
Right.
And so, this journey is really all about trying to chisel away the things that aren't in alignment, to heal the traumas and the wounding and the I'm not good enoughs, the shame, the guilt, all those things. That's all got to be healed because it's out of alignment. It's pulling you away from the vision, right?
Mhm.
So, and I mean, most of us have all of that, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean,
Yeah,
it's a part of it.
it's not
Yes.
just me.
It's not
It's
just
not just
you.
me.
No, it's not. But that's really the whole thing. And, once you get back into your power a little bit and you start feeling like, I believe in myself again, I know I can do this, then you start getting a bunch more tests. So you go from the dark night of the soul to it's almost like it's a gauntlet, right? And you're just like you're ducking and weaving and blocking and trying to find your way, and it's still a little bit dark, and then you'll get glimmers of hope, and then it's dark again, and you're just kind of like, what is going on? That's I actually had a business coach tell me, and he was more Christian based, and he was like, Jen, he's like, that's the moment you're about to break through, because he calls, the darker forces or the enemy or whatever, because it's very Christian based, but it made sense to me at the same time. When you look at duality, positive versus negative or light versus dark, however it is you want to look at that, which we are in duality, but like I said before, we're meant to be looking ahead. If we get caught up in the duality, we can't move forward. So a big part of my lesson has been staying present, staying in my heart, really trying to love and be in gratitude no matter what is showing up, even in the way he was referring to the enemy giving all the resistance because I was about to break through. When I pulled it into that wisdom that he was giving me into this idea of the hero's journey, that's actually when I knew I was in the hero's journey. I
Hmm.
had seen this before and kind of studied it a little bit, but when he said that, I was like, this is what I'm in. This is where I'm at. And I knew I was in the resistance and tests part, which is you're almost breaking through, like you're almost done. And I had to just really believe in myself again and really honor what I've been through, who I am, what I came here for, what I've learned along the way, and put it all to practice and just really embody everything I've learned. And I do think, it seems, knock on some wood somewhere, I do think I've moved past that initiation side of things. And I'm in the part where if you look at the image, I'm at the point where it's like the healing process and like you are changed and you're starting to teach it to others. So that's where it seems I'm at with this. And it's funny because things really,
So you're really close to achieving the goal.
I think I'm right there. I think I'm about ready to start another adventure. I'll tell you that.
Okay.
But I've learned so much. Like I really feel like those clown shoes are no longer clown shoes for me. I feel like I'm actually wearing them well now. Um, and I'm still getting used to them, but I feel like I'm wearing them, right? And so much has shifted in my world. And that's when you know that you're done with that process. Like that shift actually happens, but it's all an inside job. So if people are going through this and they're looking at what's happening externally and not going within to find out why, and they're blaming anything external, the economy, the collective, the evil that's out there, or the darkness, whatever it is, if you're blaming that, you're missing the point.
Right.
The point is
Like that.
you're on a journey.
Mhm.
And it is for you. It is your universe. This is your simulated experience that you're having to dive into and learn from. So now what are you going to
Yeah, that's a good question.
do? So
Hmm.
ultimately, what happens when you get to that place of transformation? I want to talk about archetypes real quick.
Okay.
We come in, there are many different archetypes, and it's a whole nother conversation. But basically, what you're trying to do is, we're all working through the victim archetype. That's one thing I think most of us have in common. We feel victimized by what's happening to us. But the way to get out of that and to become the hero is to step into your divine power where you are being your highest self and really aligning to who you are, getting out of victim, remembering that this is all happening for you and that you're meant to grow. And when you can do that, that's how you make it through the dark night of the soul. That you really have to step into that.
Yeah, that gives me a lot to think about. Thank you. Hmm.
Well, actually,
That was a lot to process.
yeah, there is. Actually, there's a little bit more about that divine power image. Can I go
Okay.
into that real quick?
Absolutely. Yeah.
I know I've been a little bit all over the place. So
No,
sorry
no,
about
you're right on track.
that. Okay. So when you're coming out of victim, the victim archetype, and you're stepping into divine power, there's what my guides call a victim pendulum. So if you can think about the idea that, a pendulum goes back and forth, right? And let's say you feel victimized by something. So give me something you have felt angry about or maybe disempowered by. Give me an example of something.
Oh, if someone gets upset at me over something that I didn't feel I did or rightly deserve, or um, nothing real
Okay, so they get
specific.
a, they get a, they get upset at you when you just
Mhm.
came from your heart and you're like, oh,
Yeah,
what just
if I'm
happened?
being transparent and trying to be just open and honest, and someone takes that sometimes the wrong way. Yeah.
Okay, so you have some choices there, right? So on the victim pendulum, if you swing one way, it's kind of like the woe is me. It feels very disempowered, right? There's like this part of you that just wants to kind of like, I'm just going to run from this. I'm not going to pay attention to it, right? The other side of you, you might get mad, you might get angry, and that might feel empowering, but it's still on the victim pendulum, right? So that's the fight.
Okay.
The freeze is I'm just gonna ignore this. I'm gonna stuff it down, pretend like it didn't happen, and I'm just gonna like la 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 la. So in a relationship, the woe is me might leave, and just pretend, like just ghost them, right? Like, okay, I don't want to do this. The freeze is I don't want to leave them, but I don't want to get angry, so I'm just gonna kind of stay here and take it and pretend like it's not happening. The fight is like, I don't know, yelling at them,
Okay.
right? But all of it, you're coming from the standpoint that that person is doing that thing to you,
Sure.
right? Right. So it's making you react in some way, fight, flight, or freeze. Ideally, what we want to do is we want to realize it's not even about that person. It's truly about how it's affecting me. So if I'm feeling angry, okay, what is that person representing to me? Is this a pattern in my life? And like not even be angry with them. That's actually a gift. Them accusing you or getting upset with you in some way, even though you were just trying to do something from the heart, does that keep happening to you? So what is that
Right.
pattern?
Right.
And oftentimes it also goes into childhood. So then you need maybe do some inner child work, but that is stepping into your divine power to try to figure out, okay, why is the universe bringing me this situation versus, oh, well, that person's clearly not a match for me. And they might not be. And sometimes things happen to like in a relationship to move us in a different direction, but it should always be us stepping into our power to decide what is this trying to show me and to not be angry and upset at the person and not judge that person and to still come from your amazing, beautiful heart when maybe they're not.
So if it's a reoccurring pattern, reoccurring feeling that you're feeling, this is just the universe's way of showing that, mirroring that to you, so that you can learn to, um, I guess, resolve those issues within yourself.
Yeah, definitely. Um, to help us grow or to see things about us. And so anytime we're triggered by anything, there's something for us to see within. And if we are constantly putting the blame, not that it is anything about blame, but if we're constantly putting the blame onto those around us or the circumstances around us. So like, for example, owning a business and the craziness of COVID and the economy and everything else, and talk about a roller coaster. It's been nuts. But there are other businesses that did just fine. So if you look at restaurants, for example, some restaurants had to close down. Others thrived. They actually did better during COVID for some reason. Why is that? It's that person's process. And it's not a right or a wrong. It's not about judging the person who failed and had to close down their business or anything like that, or those relationships that failed. It's not about the judgment. It's, are we getting the lesson and are we seeing what we need to see so that that doesn't have to happen again, or it doesn't need to get worse before it gets better, you know? So a lot of times people talk about, like their lives falling apart, or, things just suddenly shift, or like in the tarot world, they call it the tower moment, right? And so usually tower moments happen either when there's a sudden big shift that needs to happen in your life and things need to fall apart because it's time and you have to jump onto the next part, the next version of you, and it has to happen kind of quickly. That does happen. Other times it's that we just weren't doing the inner work that we've been being called to do. And so it continually gets to a point where it's worse and worse and worse, and we're not seeing what we need to see. And so it just has to fall apart to get our attention and kind of force us into movement. So that happens too. But so when things aren't working, especially if you feel like it's everything in your life, you're on this journey. You're being called to become something better, something wiser, something. I say something because we're beings, but getting called to become more, better, wiser, more open, more loving. And to become more loving, we must break down the walls that are keeping us from loving.
When a hard situation presents itself to me, I always kind of look back at a phrase that Tony Robbins. I'm a big Tony Robbins fan, um, and something he says that really resonates with me is, um, life obstacles happen for you, not to you, and that always gets me to, you know, I try to encourage myself to look at things from a little different perspective, to learn from a situation, to not to hopefully not to repeat a situation, or um get to the root of why I'm feeling this way, so that maybe I can disentangle those feelings and um put a little more positive spin on them, remove
Mm,
that block, hopefully, and actually learn to embrace issues as teachings and things to learn from, versus problems to butt heads against.
right.
So
Well, I think the nature of humanity is we're meant to have these cycles. We're meant to butt heads. We're meant to have chaos and division at times because it forces us to move in a direction. And, according to the law of one, I know this is not necessarily about the hero's journey, but according to the law of one, um, the channeled material, the book, The Law of One.
I do. Yes, I've heard
Okay.
it. Mhm.
All right. According to that, this is what they call 3D or third density.
Mhm.
They don't call it dimension, but they call it the density because in this dimensional density space, we are meant to have such chaos and pain and challenge that it forces us to decide if we're going to be of service to others or service to self. So
Mm.
it's in both ways you can have an ascension process, um, but this craziness in this world is supposed to, according to that channeling, help us decide who we're going to be and what path we need to take. So, yeah, I mean, I think it's just a part of things. I don't know that that will ever go away. Peace on earth is really peace within.
Love that. Now, I do want to make a mention for, the audience that, although you have a wellness center, that a lot of your services are remote,
Right.
correct?
Hmm.
Yeah. So you don't have to live in Columbia, Maryland or its surrounding areas in order to be able to connect with Jennifer or anybody that, or many of the practitioners that work out of the wellness center. Um, because so many of the services these days are, through Zoom or whatever. Um, yeah, I especially love energy work through remote, you know.
Yeah,
Uh,
me too.
yeah.
Yeah, some of my best sessions have been not in person. They've been remote.
And it's strange, I hear a lot of practitioners say that, well, while I understand that maybe I can understand reasons why they may not want in-person sessions, but many of them say that they feel that they get a better outcome many times when it's done in a remote way because they don't have distractions they otherwise would. And um, I've even had one person who's magical. She's like, I feel like I get a 25 better or 20% better results, better intensity, better, just across the board if it's done in a remote session
Yeah,
versus in person.
yeah,
And I find that fascinating. Me personally, I like to do it in person. I'm a one-on-one type of kind of guy, but occasionally I'll reach out and I'll get a remote session. And I to this day, I've been doing this for 14 years now. To this day, my jaw hits the ground because sometimes I reach out to people and like, okay, you got a session. I'm like, oh, and I just feel so crappy. I really just want the session to end after it starts. And then there have been times where 10 minutes in, I just feeling better and better and better. And I'm like, oh my God, this is just so fantastic. And
yeah.
it's just mind boggling how this works. And for me, that fascination for me is why I'm doing KarmaHub because from my belief system, and it's still strongly woven in there, none of that should be possible, right?
Well, it's all quantum, right?
Yeah, well, yeah, well, it is. I mean, I guess from a science, people are supposedly, kind of proving that it all works, and this is why it works, and at least have a some sort of understanding as to, how that makes sense. But it's still well above my head. I don't understand it, but I certainly believe it. I experience it quite often. And I just, my hope, my wish is that more people, stepped into the unknown and experienced different wellness methods, energy medicine being one of them.
Yeah, I think it is moving in that direction.
It is, absolutely.
Yeah,
Yeah, I feel like this is definitely becoming more the norm.
yeah, I agree.
Maybe norm is a strong word, but it's not completely crazy like it used to be.
Oh, I know. I know. Yeah. Yeah. Back when I first got it, well, especially even before I got into it, can you imagine being back in like the 1980s and doing this stuff?
Right.
Yeah. Nowadays, it just seems like so many people hear of Reiki, or even if not that, acupuncture or other things like that, where it's at least it's very woo, but not in a woo way.
Right.
You don't have to be some nut job.
Well, and you're even seeing this stuff on TV and movies.
Yes.
So even people that don't really believe in it, have no interest in it, they know of it.
I was watching a show the other day. I can't remember what it was or what it was called, but they literally were tapping. Do you know what energy? The tapping?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
They were tapping in the show. And I was like, oh my gosh, I was doing that like 20 years ago. That's crazy.
Well, there was a movie with I think Sandra Bullock and Brad Pitt not too long ago, and it was like an adventure movie, and Brad Pitt kind of in the middle of this adventure scene, he starts giving I think Sandra Bullock some Reiki. She's like, "Are you giving me Reiki?" Right? This is on the big screen, right? And of course, it was like 2 seconds later, Brad Pitt got shot. So it was a little ridiculous. But anyway, my point being, you're seeing it here and there, and and the word's spreading, and people are opening up to it. And I think that's very important.
Yeah.
Yeah. So is there anything else that you wanted to hit on before we started wrapping things up?
No, I think that's it. If you're somebody who is finding yourself in this cycle and it feels like you're at that exhausted giving up stage, the dark night of the soul of some aspect of your life, don't give up. Go within, find the right people that can help you and really move through it. It's so important not to give up.
So I have a couple questions here.
Okay.
I'm getting in the habit of asking during my interviews. What's one thing, if everybody knew or recognized, that it would change the world if they recognized it?
Everything is an inside job. If everybody just realized that they just have to go within and shift within, instead of blaming everybody else for everything happening or getting frustrated with everybody, then I think a lot of things would change in the world.
Wonderful. If you could compress your understanding of the healing arts into one piece of wisdom, what would it be?
Know thyself.
Beautiful. I like this one. If you could have invited any spiritual teacher or healer, living or not, to join this conversation, who would it be and why?
I think it would be Joe Dispenza.
Okay.
And not because I've never met him. I've never been to any of his big events that he does because they sell out so quickly. Mm-hmm. But I've watched a lot of his interviews, and he really helped me during that dark night of the soul. He really helped me a lot to realize what is possible and how, if we just get beyond ourselves, that really anything is possible, and he talks about the stories of things happening in his events and people, who are blind and suddenly see, things like that. And it just makes you realize, what I'm going through, it's fixable. I can work through it. Yeah, whatever it is.
Yeah. How does someone choose a healing practice to use when there are so many to choose from?
Well, healing is a journey. It's very rarely ever going to be one thing you're going to do that's going to fix whatever it is you're going through, whether it's physical, mental, emotional, whatever. It doesn't matter. It is a journey. And I would say start with, like, if it's a physical, whatever's showing up in your physical world, you start there, but you don't stay there. So, like, let's say if somebody came down with, like, let's say cancer or something, some sort of really significant issue that's life-threatening. Of course, you want to address it on that physical level, but that's not where the majority of the work probably needs to be done. And so I would always go deeper, start looking at the mental, emotional, start healing your traumas. What are the core wounds? And then ultimately, as a soul, what maybe this is the end of your life. Maybe it is. And so are you comfortable with that? If it's not, well, what do you need to get from it?
Beautiful. What's one question you wish more people would ask about spirituality and the healing arts?
Who am I really? That's the one question. Who am I really? What is this all about?
If you were to offer any advice for someone who's looking into taking a deeper step into these healing arts as a facilitator, what advice would you offer?
So if somebody wants to get into becoming a healer or a facilitator?
Yeah, not just exploring the healing arts in general, but as a facilitator, if they're looking to really step into it, getting the courage to do so, maybe begin the exploration of the journey of what we were talking about, the hero's journey.
Yeah, I would say don't be afraid of the challenges. Don't be afraid of the hero's journey. It's a really good thing. And I will say from experience that once you get through it, you'll be glad you did it. The only time you're not glad you stepped into it is when you're in the first part of the initiation. When you're feeling exhausted and want to give up, you're going to feel like you made a mistake. Don't listen to that. That's not truth, and it's not who you are. And the whole point of this is you stepped in to become something more and to help even more people. So stay with it, and don't be afraid of it.
And how can people reach you?
So yeah, they can go to my website, jen-palmer.com, and it's Jen with 2 N's.
Jennifer, this has been outstanding. Thank you so much. This has been a real treat.
Thank you so much,
Long
Lauren.
overdue.